Hi, Chris Duff over at Serious Land Capital, vacant land funding partner. Today I wanted to go over another AI win that um, had just yesterday here. So, you know, I'm just, my team and I were just under the gun. There was so much reactivity over this last week, and we're just getting busier and busier trying to produce more and more content, marketing, deals coming our way that it's just tricky to figure out how to balance all this and especially figure out deep work in the midst of all of this and just trying to figure out these AI systems. I have a pretty good handle on how to use correct prompting and so forth. It's just building the actual systems in, which is why I'm happy I'm in Callan's Automate to Accelerate, which requires going all in as well. To sort out. So it's just another thing stacked on top, but I know the rewards are going to come over time. And so there was a land investor who I'm friendly with. We've met in person a number of times. Very solid operator within the space, and he was reaching out saying, hey, he has this VA he's had on for a few months, really wants to be his primary comping virtual assistant, but he's trying to grow the team. There's so many leads coming in. So just like looking for somebody outside of their organization who could help train her up more. And, very fortunately, and I'm, very grateful that he had sent over his VA to join my Land Daily Diligence group and review those videos and so forth. Which is a great place to start. But again, it's a zero cost solution, and you're not necessarily getting direct targeted feedback to your own unique situation outside of when you actually send deals in. But again, due to time constraints and so forth, it's not like we're engaging in a one-on-one conversation. So just looking for a more high touch set up here. And he's just, hey, do you know anybody who might be a good possibility to train? And I wouldn't be able to fit that in my schedule, but my core virtual assistant Melvin, who's trained directly under me to comp properties for well over a year, uh, and I trust his process and results. We've calibrated routinely over that period of time. I was like, and he's also Filipino, and same with this other land investor's VA. So I was saying, okay, that could be a good fit there where, for a period of time, Melvin could train her up, and, I could have some oversight with that to ensure everything is moving along smoothly. But, in terms of how, who would be running this, it would be my VA. And so we hopped on a call. And, it's a friendly relationship, right? So just thinking, okay, what would the timeline look like? Maybe start at twice a week for, 60, 90 minutes each, and then, decelerate those or the frequency of sessions over time. Maybe it runs for a couple months, something like that. And more, less of kind of like a firm curriculum, but more of like, hey, this other land investor is trying to unlock other value and larger deals, like what to look out for, or routes to force appreciation, or like different type of deals like commercial versus industrial, residential, and so forth, recreational. And like we see this all the time. Like this is our bread and butter, right? We see stuff all over the country, probably more leads, and land different types of land deals than any other outfit within the land industry. Like this is what we do. So I felt very confident that out of anybody, we can do anything from infill lots to minor subdivides all across the country and different type of zoning and so forth. And does that mean we're going to be the number one expert in the country for all these type of deals? No, but we know how to ask and find the right experts for anything that we can't figure out on our end. So that side of it was easier, but in terms of like, okay, what would the actual financial structure look like? I had zero idea. Neither did the other land investor. And so I was like, okay, let me get back to you. We could probably start this next week. I know you want to get this thing rolling. But there was just no precedent at all about this. And again, I'm just so busy anyway. So like, okay, where am I going to go to, figure out how to actually price this thing? Um, and so I just, gave ChatGPT the full scenario, and again, use, Callan's role, context request, question, framework, to provide as much info as possible to ChatGPT, and, included the rate that I would look for me personally, if I were to, do 30 to 60-minute sessions of direct one-on-one due diligence, and then also like what my hourly rate is for my VA. And I also indicated to Melvin that, hey, if you do some of this training, I know you already have a very busy schedule, but pending what we work out, we could also throw you a commission from what you're bringing into the business to incentivize him further, uh, to, put in quality effort there. And then I was trying to use Hormozy's framework, not like it's his directly, but advocates for it within negotiation strategies, like presenting multiple different offers for the counterparty, just like we do in land deals, right? Cash deals, owner finance deals. I mean, this is like standard stuff, but how do you do that from like a consulting arrangement? So like, okay, throw me some different options that should feel relatively equal. And ChatGPT, like it took a lot of iterations to get somewhere where I liked. Initially it was trying to be too formal and harsh, almost of like, hey, if they choose a package deal, you should ensure that all of the IP that you're teaching, isn't allowed to be taught internally at their other company, or they need to come back to you. And but if they pay higher, then they can teach it internally and so forth. Or like different packages like will have different curriculums. And I'm like, dude, that is just, it's too much here. First, my team just does not have the capacity in like a one-off relationship for building out a full curriculum. Yes, we're very, very good at, hey, you can bring any comps to us and we can show you what to look for and deals that we've done or look at routinely. And, we can do that for, 100 hours a week and still have plenty of content routinely to go back on. But, we're not going to be setting up like a step-by-step, here's a, A through Z curriculum here. That's just, it's too intense. So like, figure out, and this is a friendly relationship, right? I don't want to be saying what they can and can't do within their team. Like, just give the info, they can do whatever they want with it. And so ultimately, with a ton of back and forth, figured out a solution to either have a package deal over 2 months with like, roughly 12 sessions, and half the payment up front, half due after the 1 month mark. And also give it like, again, keep it a little bit more casual. Like, hey, if this thing isn't really working out within the first couple weeks, like we can reconsider what's going on here. And then the second option would just be a flat hourly rate. So it's a little bit more ad hoc. And, both of the options roughly equal out to what the same amount of revenue we would generate for our company, regardless of what is chosen. Because some, ChatGPT initially showed, some of the options like just being far more expensive, like the package options were far more expensive than like the hourly. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Anybody doing the math here would just choose the hourly one, especially like when the core offering is like roughly similar. So like there can be some slight distinctions, maybe a 10-15% difference. And so I think the way it ended up being is like, yeah, if it was just a pure hourly and they ended up doing like the exact amount of sessions or time as the package deal, it would probably be like, yeah, roughly, again, 10-15% more expensive, which is typical, right? If you're going to do a package deal, usually you're going to get like a slight discount compared to just straight ad hoc hourly, which is kind of where I wanted to arrive at. And then like it suggested, hey, throw on a bonus session where me personally, I could come in for my, $500 an hour rate. We could do that at the end if they want to kind of do a capstone teaching moment, or hey, if you want to continue this on later, like we can figure out, hey, like smaller touch points here for, certain costs. And then it was suggesting for my own company, depending on how well the other land investors VA teaches the skills internally, that I could have a success bonus to be paid to Melvin to encourage or incentivize him to be, as solid as possible when it comes to the actual teaching side. And so I was posting this also within Callan's Automate to Accelerate Slack group, and Callan jumped right on. It's like, yeah, this is really solid. But an extra step too is just make sure, everything is transcribed with these VA teaching sessions. And so then you can create a more repeatable IP and systematic teaching approach for how you comp properties. These one-off sessions here. So like, okay, yeah, that's an even extra step to go about it. And then, the way that ChatGPT actually provided some of the info, it gives like a lot of these bullet points, like overly formal. It's like, hey, I can prep a one page. And I'm like, this is not like, a McKinsey, a consulting firm here. I just want to send this over text message. Can you just frame all of this casual? So it doesn't look like, like overly formal or, crazy professional here, to kind of keep that friendly relationship. And so I had to reorient it back to that, which I was satisfied with at the end. But, that was just an example of like, hey, super busy here. This is a possible arrangement that could be really interesting for us, but I don't want to invest a whole bunch of brain power into doing this, figuring out the pricing and all that. I have no idea. So, it probably took me like half an hour to sort this out. I wish I could have figured it out a little bit faster, and I probably will. I'll have the precedent to do that later on. But, it was just additional training with AI there. And so, like, overall, I think it arrived at what I felt was pretty fair based on our VA's hourly rate is like a dollar flat package for 12 sessions over a couple months, or 125 per hour. So that would like roughly equate over that same time period. And again, like I have to just make sure that it's worth my team's time to do this, just given other responsibilities. Otherwise, like it's just not worth it. And it's not like a line of business that I'm gonna, really push forward anyway. Just because we have so much going on as a general funding service business and also doing land price or two. So was just trying to balance within that. But hopefully this is helpful for approaching new situations within your own company. SeriousLand.capital for any of your funding needs. Land Daily Diligence, zero cost review of your land deals, and then LandPricer.ai, which I just mentioned. A lot more development work even over this weekend. My LLM models and prompts are getting even better. The accuracy is rapidly improving, like north of 85% for pretty difficult prompts and identification. I can get it as close to 100% as possible. Looking forward to that. Subscribe and share. Talk to you next time. Bye.